Yes.
Okay, I will now call to order the regular meeting of the Shell Rock River Watershed District for October 13, 2020. Leah, please call roll.
Manager Bakken,
Here.
Manager DeBoer,
Here.
Manager Pasuski,
Here.
and Manager Delger.
Here. Okay, number 2, the consent agenda. The following items will be acted upon without discussion in accordance with the staff recommendation and associated documents unless a manager requests opportunity for discussion. A, minutes of the September 8th, 2020 Shell Rock River Watershed District Monthly Board Meeting. B, minutes of the September 22nd, 2020 Shell Rock River Watershed District Dredge Committee Meeting. C, September 2020 Treasurer's Report subject to audit. D, September 2020 Project Fund Treasurer's Report subject to audit. E, authorized payment of claims. F, authorized payment of project fund disbursements. D, quarterly transfer. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as
So moved.
made by Manager DeBoer, seconded by Manager Pasuski? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Leah, please call roll.
Manager Bakken,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Pasuski,
Aye.
Manager Delger.
Aye, motion carried. Number 3, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletion that need to be made to the rest of the agenda?
Mr. Chair, at this time, staff has no additions, corrections, or deletions.
Okay. No motion. And then do I have a motion to approve as is
So moved.
by Manager Anson, seconded by not in there. Seconded by Manager who?
Pasuski, Joe.
Go. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, Leah, please call roll.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Bakken,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Pasuski,
Aye.
Manager Delger.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, we'll go on to Administrator Andy Henschel. Give us an update on the Fountain Lake Restoration Project.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, first item I have is the Fountain Lake Restoration update. To give you an update, JF Brennan is been very active in dredging material in the Main Bay and Danes Bay. So far this year, they've removed roughly 285,000 cubic yards of material. Their plan is to keep dredging until the ice forms. So they're looking at, I think last year would be about the second week in November. So they're going to go as long as they possibly can, and then start back up in the spring. They're also looking at doing some restoration work on some of the areas that we used for phase 1 of the project. So they're going to be looking at cutting off and removing the pipe underneath County Road 20, and also looking at removing the pipe and doing any restoration work within Edgewater Park there as well, where they went under the road. So they'll be looking at doing that restoration work here in the next couple weeks, and putting that back into the way it was prior to the project starting. So any questions on the Fountain Lake Restoration Project?
I was wondering too, I see on the maps that Danes Bay is probably going to be the last thing done there. It looks like there's a lot of sediment yet to be removed.
Yeah, they're still, they're going to be in there. They're going to leave the dredge in there over the winter, and they'll be in there next year trying to remove the rest of the material. They've done an initial sweep through the area where they took off, a large chunk of it, and now they got to go through it 1 to 2 more times in certain areas.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I heard there was a good chance there'd be a bonding bill during this 8th special session now.
Yep, and we'll get that on item C, Mr. Hanson, if that's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Just got excited.
Well, don't get too excited. Item B is an update on the confined disposal facility, cells 2 and 3. Cell 2 is in operation right now. JF Brennan has been using that cell as well as cell 1. They've been moving material between the two cells, again, trying to fill cell 1 to its maximum capacity. So they'll pump to that for a couple days and then turn it over to cell 2. Cell 3 is in the midst of being reconstructed. If you remember, we had that berm failure on the northwest corner of cell 3. Since the last meeting, Vite has deconstructed that entire portion down to original grade and has built that up to roughly 18 feet. So we have roughly 6 to 8 feet to go. If the weather cooperates, they should be able to finish that up here in the next 2 weeks. And then we'll have, all 3 cells completed and be able to look at using or utilizing all 3 cells for management of that dredge material. We do have some claims for the cell 2 repair and for the initial portion of cell 3, and we'll discuss those at a later time as we do our investigation on what caused those failures. So as of right now, we're just continuing to have Vite move forward with finishing the project, and then we'll look at those claims as we move forward here. Any questions on CDF cells 2 and 3? All right. And Mr. Hanson, here's the legislative update, and I'm going to turn this over to Judy. And Judy, if you want to give us a quick update, that'd be great.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yes, it actually appears that this week the legislature's special session, which began yesterday, will pass a bonding bill tomorrow and Thursday. Unfortunately, throughout all of this, our project still did not make it into this bill. So I've already begun discussions with folks about next year, because there's always a bonding bill in every session. This year's was the big bill, and next year there'll be a small bill with $5 billion in needs and requests across the state of Minnesota. There will continue to be a bonding bill every year. This year's bonding bill, there's a lot of competition within that $5 billion needs, and they spent just over a little over $1 billion in general obligation bonds. So I am not happy to bring you this news today, but I think if they can actually pass this bill, it gets all of these projects then off the table, and we don't have to compete with them next year. So that's the update. We anticipate that it is going to pass tomorrow and Thursday. Until it actually does, something still could happen to derail it. But just to get it off the table, they should move ahead with it. Would be good for everybody.
Anyone have any questions for Judy or myself? Judy, we just probably want to note that both the other projects did make it on the bonding list, and that would be the trail and the Main Street project. So those are both listed. However, the dredge project is not, or the Fountain Lake Restoration project is not. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
there was a challenge with 3 projects coming from the community. It created some challenges for our legislators as well in terms of being able to get everything. So,
And we definitely pushed, we had multiple conversations with both Peggy. I know I had some of our managers reach out to both Peggy and the city to try to prioritize some of these projects. Unfortunately, it just didn't come through this time. So again, we're getting ready for next year's battle, and hopefully it's not the end of the project. So hopefully next year we can get the bonding dollars needed to move forward with the restoration project. So
yeah, I believe our legislators have already made a commitment to continue to work on this next session. So,
all right, if there's no other questions, I'll move to item D as a TMDL update. As you know, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency finished up the TMDL for the watershed district for the Shell Rock River. If you remember, this was roughly a 12-year saga, I'll put it that way, to get this completed. They also completed the RAPS portion of the watershed protection strategies. They started that in 2014. So what came out of that, of course, is the TMDL report. Most of you have probably seen that. As you know, the city and the district had some issues with some of the modeling, some of the sampling used, and felt that it could be more defined in a few areas. We made those comments very clear to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Really what this has the biggest effect on is the City of Albert Lee's wastewater treatment plant and looking for phosphorus reduction. Right now, I think the phosphorus limits are roughly 5 milligrams per day for discharge for the city. And I think with the new TMDL in place, they would have to drop those limits to 1 to 0.8 milligrams per liter per day. So it's a large reduction, which could mean a large bill to update the wastewater treatment system to meet those limits. I think estimates right now for the city to try to meet those are between $40 and $50 million. So what I can tell you is the City of Albert Lea is contesting or will be contesting the permit limits that MPCA has set on them. And we'll have to see where it goes from here. But again, as we stress in our comments to the Pollution Control Agency, there's a few things that we feel that, should be monitored to make sure that this model is calibrated correctly and is using the right assumptions to determine that reduction. So any questions on the TMDL update? All right, hearing none. Mick, I'll turn it over to Courtney.
Okay. Courtney, project and program manager.
All right, thank you. The first item I have is a resolution 2020-14, which is enter into an option agreement for the Glenville property, which is owned by Connie Nelson and Clarence Dempy-Wolf. Do you want me to get a first and a second before I start discussing it?
Pardon me?
Do you want me to get a first and a second before we start discussion?
If you're just going to read the resolution or discussion.
I can give a little synopsis of it. So this property is located on the east side of the Shell Rock River in Glenville along County Road 13. It's approximately 20 acres in size, and we already have secured funding out of our Habitat Restoration Program Phase 9. The end goal for this property is to be donated to the DNR. I can see it either being an AMA or provide access to the river. These landowners are willing, and they came to us, and that's why we included it into our Habitat Restoration Program. So Yes, if we could get a first and a second, I will read the resolution.
Is there a first?
So moved.
Mr. DeBoer, do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Made by Manager Pasuski. Courtney, would you read the resolution?
Yes. Resolution 2020-14, enter into Glenville Property, Nelson and Dempewolf Option Agreement. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District Board of Managers pursues the mission of implementing reasonable and necessary improvements to the water-related and other natural resources within its boundaries. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District is charged with implementing the Shell Rock River Watershed District Watershed Management Plan. Whereas Connie F. Nelson and Clarence M. Dempewolf, the landowners, approached the district in regards to their sale of the Glenville property to the district. This property would be permanently protected if purchased by the district. Whereas the district staff recommends entering into an option agreement with the landowners, and whereas funding for the purchase of this property has been secured in LSOHC SRRW Habitat Restoration Program Phase 9 grant allocation. The district will follow all requirements set forth in Appendix E of the grant agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Shell Rock River Watershed District 1 authorizes an option agreement with Connie F. Nelson and Clarence M. Dempewolf, and 2 authorizes district staff to execute all documents and record with Freeborn County Recorder's Office dated October 13th, 2020.
Okay, with that, is there any discussion? Hearing none. Leah, please call roll.
Manager Hanson. Managers, please unmute yourself.
Unmuted, aye.
Manager Bakken. Manager Bakken, can you unmute yourself?
There we go. Aye.
Manager DeBoer.
Aye.
Manager Pasuski.
Aye.
And Manager Delger.
Aye, resolution passes.
Thank you. The next item is Resolution 2020-15, sale of shed on the Church Lake property. The district purchased this property earlier this year, and currently the building has on it a roughly 36 by 50 old barn that has tin on it. That does not meet the needs of our restoration efforts, and so the district is looking at selling that property and then using the funds to go back into the property. We will be selling that, like I said, the garage, we will set a time limit of when they will have to remove it by, and they're only responsible for the barn portion of it. All of the concrete removal work will be the district's responsibility. So if there's a first and a second, I will read that resolution as well.
Is there a motion?
So
Made
moved.
by Manager DeBoer. Second
Second.
by Manager Hanson. Would you please read the resolution?
Yes, Resolution 2020-15, sale of shed on Church Lake property. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District Board of Managers pursues the mission of improving water quality within its boundaries. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District is charged with implementing the Shell Rock River Watershed District Watershed Management Plan. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District recently completed purchase of the Church Lake property. Whereas the property was purchased for habitat and wetland preservation, and the district intends to seed the property with native grasses. Whereas upon the property is a machine shed that is unused by the SRRWD nor fits its planned use of the property. Whereas the district seeks to sell the machine shed as excess and unused property and convert the assets into funds to be put back into the project, which was funded by LSOHC funds. And whereas the SRRWD will pursue sale of the excess property consistent with applicable laws. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the SRRWD. Section 1, the SRRWD finds the machine shed on Church Lake property is excess property not used by the SRRWD. And Section 2, the staff and chairman of the Board of Managers and the secretary are authorized to pursue sale of the machine shed consistent with applicable laws, dated October 13th, 2020.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Leah, please call roll.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Bakken,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Pasuski,
Aye.
Manager Delger.
Resolution passes.
Thank you. Next item is a motion to approve bar engineering service agreement for the Miller Tract. So this engineering service agreement is for the property that's located east of Alden and north of Interstate 90. It is in the County Ditch 54 drainage system. There's property that the district recently purchased, as well as what U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service already owns. We are going to be doing engineering for wetland restoration work, and that includes rerouting a county tile to the south side of the interstate, so it doesn't have to go through this property. And so at this time, we are looking for an engineering service agreement with BAR to help us with the county's petition for rerouting tile, as well as doing engineering work for the wetlands. This is going to be a phased style project. How we have funding for the restoration of this project is in a couple different phases of our Lessard Sams package. And so this is just kind of the first stage of engineering to get us started. And the dollar amount on this engineering service agreement is $45,000. So we are looking at starting that process.
Do I have a motion?
Motion by Pasuski.
Manager Pasuski, second. Is that a yes, Mike, or is that a motion?
Sure.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Leah, please call roll.
Leah, you're muted.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Bakken,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Pasuski,
Aye.
Manager Delger.
Aye, and carried.
Thank you. The next is item D, LSOHC allocation update. So in March, we submitted our phase 10 allocation for our habitat restoration program. We received a hearing and at our October 1st, the Lessard Sams October 1st meeting, we got an allocation amount of $1,326,000. So always good to bring in money to our district. This is going to be for restoration, enhancement, and protection efforts for projects. I do want to point out that out of this 1.326 that we're receiving, our in-kind contribution amount is $100,000, which is roughly 7% of the total project. And most grants that we have received in the past do require a 20 to 25% match. So this Lessard Sams is really a way for us to target our local match and leverage our sales tax dollars. So we always have good news with that. We had to submit a work plan on Monday. And if everything goes good at the end of the legislative session next year, we'll have another 1.326 million to spend.
Very good.
All right. And if there's no more comments, I will move to item E, which is our One Watershed, One Plan update. We did have a policy committee meeting, which is one representative from each of the respective boards, and they approved the desired future conditions, goals, and issue statements. So now that that is approved, we are working on our implementation table, which is our projects that we want to implement to start targeting what our desired future conditions and issue statements and goals are. And so we are planning on meeting weekly to try and get things moving and wrap this project up. So we are starting to work on the implementation of projects that we want to target first. So and I believe that's all that I have.
Any of the managers have any questions for Courtney? Hearing none, we'll go on to item number 6, Technical Specialist Scott Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item on the agenda is Resolution 2020-16, Picker Lake Site 12 Wetland Restoration Contract Award. This project was initiated in 2018. A willing landowner on the northwest side of Picker Lake is willing to let us restore wetland and its connectivity to Picker Lake. And we set out quotes this month and received 2 quotes. And this resolution would be to award the contract.
Okay, is there a motion to introduce resolution 2020-16?
So moved.
Manager DeBoer, do I have a second?
Yeah.
By Manager Hanson is seconded. Scott, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution 2020-16, Picker Lake Site 12 Wetland Restoration Contract Award. Whereas the Shark River Watershed District Board of Managers pursues a mission of implementing reasonable and necessary improvements to the water-related and other natural resources within its boundaries. Whereas the Shark River Watershed District is charged with implementing the Shark River Watershed District Watershed Management Plan. Whereas the Picker Lake Site 12 Wetland Restoration Project was established by Resolution 2018-41 on December 13th, 2018. Whereas a request for quotes was sent September 29th, 2020, and whereas 2 quotes were submitted to the district ranging from $46,610 to $52,188.80. Therefore, the Board of Managers hereby finds that the proposed project has the ability to promote the public interest and welfare in conformity with the plan as set forth above. Now therefore be resolved that the Shark River Watershed District hereby Section 1 awards the contract to Barth Construction Incorporated as the lowest quote and in the best interest of the district for Picker Lake Site 12 Wetland Restoration Project. And Section 3 authorizes the district administrator to sign all documents to proceed with the project, dated October 13th, 2020.
Okay, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, Leah, please call roll.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Bakken,
There we go. Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Pasuski,
aye,
Manager Delger.
Aye, resolution passes.
Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2020-17, Wedge Creek Reach 1 Wetland Restoration Contract Award. This is a project started in 2011, and the goals of this project are to reduce stands of reed canary grass, which is highly competitive to natural and native plant species, as well as invasive buckthorn, which is another competitive plant species which overtakes a lot of the under canopy growth in natural stands of oak savanna that we have around here. So we submitted for quotes, and this resolution would award the contract to bidders.
Okay, is there a motion to introduce resolution 2020-17?
So moved.
Made by Manager Hanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Made by Manager Bakken. Scott, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution 2020-17, Wedge Creek Reach 1 Wetland Restoration Contract Award. Whereas the Shark River Watershed District Board of Managers pursues the mission of implementing reasonable and necessary improvements to the water-related and other natural resources within its boundaries. Whereas the Shark River Watershed District is charged with implementing the Shark River Watershed District Watershed Management Plan. Whereas the Wedge Creek Reach 1 Wetland Restoration Project was established by Resolution 2011-13 on October 11, 2011. Whereas a request for quotes was sent September 29th, 2020 for the parcel 08-006-0077 grass management area and for parcel 13-931-0-190 buckthorn management area. And whereas 2 quotes were submitted to the district for grass management ranging from $44,956 to $50,605. Whereas the district staff recommends Minnesota Native Landscaping Incorporated for the grass management area. Whereas 3 quotes were submitted to the district for buckthorn management, ranging from $6,000 to $65,254. Whereas district staff recommends goat dispatch for the buckthorn management area. Therefore, the Board of Managers hereby finds that the proposed project has the ability to promote the public interest and welfare in conformity with the plan as set forth above. Now therefore be it resolved that the Shark River Watershed District hereby Section 1 awards a contract for grass management to Minnesota Native Landscaping Incorporated as the lowest quote and in best interest of the district for Wedge Creek Reach 1 wetland restoration project, and Section 2 awards a contract for buckthorn management to Goat Dispatch as the lowest quote and in the best interest of the district for Wedge Creek Reach 1 wetland restoration project, and Section 3 authorizes the district administrator to sign all documents to proceed with the project, dated October 13, 2020.
Is there any discussion?
I assume the low one on Buckthorn was the low bid,
Yes.
6,000. Okay, great, thank you.
Scott, so why is there such a big difference in these prices? Any idea?
Firstly, the requirements for prevailing wage and the use of mechanized equipment like a skid loader and a lot more manually intensive work on top of fuel and other costs associated with using equipment. With the goats, I'm guessing it's just a lot easier to put up fence and let them run loose until the project is finished, and you don't have to pay them. So
We are using goats.
Yep.
Cool. So then the goats get in. Manager Pazuski think that's pretty good. So then after they've gotten everything that they want to eat, then they go in and spray.
What's that?
I say, do they spray that after the goats get done eating?
No, spraying and chemical applications won't be necessary. They'll take it down to the ground growth level, and the natural process will take care of everything else.
Okay. Good. Any other discussion?
Did we go out and goat rope?
Be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Leah, please call roll.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Bakken,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Pazuki,
All right,
Manager Delger.
Aye. Resolution passes.
Thank you. Lastly, I have Resolution 2020-18, enter into option agreement for Bancroft Creek Wetland. This is a 113-acre parcel that was listed for sale in at least 2019. It is part of a trust, and the trustees don't have any interest in maintaining ownership of the property, so they listed it. And we approached them to purchase the property and included that in our Phase 9 Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Habitat Restoration Project.
Okay, is there a motion to introduce Resolution 2020-18?
So moved.
By Manager DeBoer, do I have a second?
Yep.
By Manager Hanson. Scott, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution 2020-18, enter into Bancroft Property Option Agreement. Whereas the Shark River Watershed District Board of Managers pursues the mission of implementing reasonable and necessary improvements to the water-related and other natural resources within its boundaries. Whereas the Shark River Watershed District is charged with implementing the Shark River Watershed District Watershed Management Plan. Whereas the district approached landowners Gregory Mark Bristow and Tammy Jo Liska as trustees of the Cordelia G. Olson Revocable Trust in regard to their sale of the Bancroft property to the district. This property would be permanently protected if purchased by the district. Whereas the district staff recommends entering into an option agreement with the landowners, and whereas funding for this purchase of this property has been secured by Sard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council, Chinook River Watershed Habitat Restoration Program Phase 9 grant allocation. The district will follow all requirements set forth in Appendix E of the grant agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chinook River Watershed District 1 authorizes an option agreement with Gregory Marker Stowe and Tammy Jo Liska as trustees of the Cordelia G. Olson Revocable Trust. And 2, authorizes district staff to execute all documents and record with Freeborn County Reporter's Office, dated October 13, 2020.
Is there any discussion? Scott, by buying this property, getting into this property, we're gonna probably hold back quite a bit of sediment going into Bancroft Bay and the creek and into
Yeah.
Mountain Lake.
This is one of the higher gradient changes that we have in the watershed district, where it's got a lot of 3-to-1 slopes, a lot more coarsely drained soils like sandy soils, and is really prone to gully erosion. You used to have gravel mined off of it, so there's been some mining activity, and it bisects through County Ditch 65, and there's a private branch going off to the west that has really bad gully erosion, and a lot of the subsurface tile drainage is exposed and failing. And this will definitely allow for some wetland restoration on top of reducing flooding impacts from County Ditch 65. That's a super flashy system that's probably 23,000 acres of drainage. So being able to capture some of that runoff and put it back on the landscape before it gets to Fountain Lake, Bancroft Bay, is one of the more important aspects of purchasing this property.
Good. Any other discussion?
Manager Bakken here. I'd like to see a little mini tour of some of these properties at some time if we could do it.
Yep, we can definitely set up a tour to look at those sites and some upcoming sites as well.
Thank you.
A good idea. I think we need to stay on top of that more. I agree. Any more discussion? Hearing none, Leah, please call roll.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Bakken,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Prasuski,
Aye.
Manager Delger.
Aye. Resolution passes.
Mr. Delger, if I may just say something, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So one of the reasons that the board is seeing these option agreements come into place is, you know, one of the key funding sources that we have, of course, is Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage. This last go around where we received the recommendation for 1.3 million, we got beat up pretty good on the money that we have sitting aside in our project account for our projects. So the way it works with Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage, for one fiscal year that you're awarded, you have, if it's a land acquisition, you have 3 years to achieve that land acquisition. If it's a construction or a restoration project, you have 5 years. And we've been trying to, you know, basically, you know, set a yearly program of what to do to help the district with our cash flow with all of the other projects we're working on. However, we're getting, again, beat up by the council a little bit by having not spent this money and hanging on to it as we move through our years. Now we're still spending the money in the time required by the grant agreements. However, you know, we do have a considerable amount of money sitting there. So one of the things that the district staff is looking at is to identify these land acquisitions and to try to get those done as soon as possible. And the reason why is for cash flow, the land acquisitions do not affect the district because the way those work are money transfers. So it's really no cash flow from the district going out to secure those transactions. That money comes straight from the state. So that's why you're seeing that. And you will see quite a few more here in the next couple months. So a mini tour is good. We have all of the locations identified that we want to look at acquisitions and enhancements. So we can definitely move that forward. But again, to help us as we move forward with Lesage Sams and to achieve more grant dollars coming to the district, we feel that it's imperative for us to start spending, some of this money that we have already awarded to us, so that we can go after more grant dollars and not see a reduction in what we're seeing. 1.3 million is great. However, if you ask Courtney and I, we probably could have done better. But again, we got beat up pretty good on having all that money out there to spend. So the thought is let's get that spent on what we can, and continually to watch our cash flow as we move forward. But like I said, again, these land acquisitions do not impact our cash flow. So just wanted to make those quick comments.
Okay. On to number 7, manager's report. I'm the liaison for the city and the county, and I have nothing from them since we've had this lockdown thing going on. But I did meet with from Whites Lake, and they have some concerns out there, and I have talked with Andy, and so we're going to give them some information to see if we can't solve their problem. But that's what I have. Joe, you got anything from the?
No meeting that I'm aware of from the advisory committee.
Okay. Is there any other manager items out there that people want to talk about, any of the managers? Okay, we'll go to number 9. Is there any upcoming meetings, Andy, that we don't know about?
The only upcoming meeting would be the next board meeting. So
Okay.
pretty light schedule.
Manager Delger, if I could interrupt. Scott, are you still on? I'm just unsure if we called roll for that last resolution.
2018?
Correct.
I thought we did.
Okay.
We can do it again if you'd like.
Nope. If I just didn't write a note, so I just want to make sure.
No, I thought we did.
Sounds
I
good.
scratched it out.
Okay.
scratch-
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay, anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Made by Manager DeBoer. Do I have a second?
Second, Joe.
Manager Pasuski. Please call roll.
Manager Hanson.
Aye.
Manager Bakken.
Aye.
Manager DeBoer.
Aye.
Manager Pasuski.
Aye.
Manager Delger.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, and everybody stay safe.
Yep.
Meeting is adjourned.
Take care.
Thank you.